Review for The Brood, directed by Cronenberg. So, a man tries to uncover an unconventional psychologist therapy techniques on his institutionalized wife amidst a series of brutal murders. Starring Oliver Reed. So, Oliver Reed is this doctor, psychiatrist who does, like it says, unconventional psychological therapy. And Art Hindle's wife is involved in it, and things start to go terribly wrong. So, I think this is an awesome movie. Just rewatched it. I really enjoyed it. Like Cronenberg, it's twisted, and some people may find it gross, especially the end. But I really liked it because it involves this guy, and his wife is crazy. The wife's mother is crazy, or she's had problems. Let's say not as crazy as the daughter, and like he says, Art Hindle. He married a woman who was hoping that his sanity would rub off on her. So, it's written by Cronenberg. And again, Cronenberg continues the theme of science gone wrong. Playing God can create, crazy problems that you cannot foresee. Because spoilers, I mean, it's 1979, movie was made. Oliver Reed is doing this psychological treatment, and it's creating these odd side effects. Like one guy, he has these cancers that are appearing, like he has this big thing on his neck, and he's suing him. And then there's a bunch of other patients. Some have committed, some aren't around anymore, and some are committed into psychological institutions. And Art Hindle doesn't like this doctor. His wife went to him as like a last ditch hope, for help. And he can't see her because he's like, it's part of the treatment that he doesn't see her. He sends his daughter sometimes to see her. I think like once a month or something. And then one day he notices that his daughter has these weird marks on her. And he thinks that his wife is attacking his daughter when they're visiting. So he threatens to not allow her to see her again. And in the end, what's happening is Samantha Edgar is birthing these weird little children that have a limited lifespan, and then they go out and basically attack things in her life that she doesn't like things that she blames her situation for, like her mother, and then also, unfortunately, this teacher at her little girl's school, because she was over babysitting, and then the wife called the house, and then this woman answered the phone. And then she thinks that she's having an affair with Art Hindle, but she's not. She was just there to babysit and kind of help out because this guy is, at wit's end. And like he says in the movie, like she's only 6 or 7 years old, and he's like, I'm afraid I've already damaged my daughter for life. So I think Art Hindle gives a really good performance in this, and I think Oliver Reed does as well. Samantha Edgar's good in it when she is in it. She's not in it that much, but she's very good too. I think this is when Cronenberg's direction kind of solidified. And I think you started to see that with Rabid, which was made 2 years before this. And I just watched Shivers too, which is 75 or 6. And that one's a little more shaky, but you could definitely see the Cronenberg stamp on this. On Shivers too, but I think this is when it starts to solidify, especially with the music. and the tone that he's creating. Then obviously after this he did Scanners. See, he did Scanners. He also did like it looks like just a more straightforward movie. Let's see, what did he do? So he did The Brood, did Scanners. He did Fast Company in '79 before The Brood, which I haven't seen. That one almost seems just like a normal movie. It's like about like a car, like a race car driver. I tried to find it, but I can't find a copy of it. But after The Brood, he did Scanners, and then you really start, I think, to see Cronenberg's style and tone solidify. Because in Videodrome, The Dead Zone, The Fly, so. But this is good. It's good early Cronenberg, and it's just messed up, man. Because in the end, his wife is like growing like a womb on the outside of her, and she's birthing these like little creatures, these basically little children that go out and kill people that she doesn't like, basically. So she kills like her little girl's teacher. She kills her mother, who she blames for all of her problems, and then she ends up killing her father too. And then after these creatures kill someone, they usually just drop dead because they kind of have like basically like their batteries empty, or they're like the doctor says in it, they're out of gas. So, but yeah, it's a messed up movie. The last act is pretty crazy. You have all of these little creatures attacking the little girl, and then they basically beat Oliver Reed to death. And Oliver Reed's a great actor. I think his last movie was Gladiator. He's great in that too. He's always like kind of whispering. He never really raises his voice much, but he's just a great English actor. And I think I'm going to try and track down more of his movies. So, but yeah, the reveal at the end of this womb on the outside, and she has all these creatures running around, and Oliver Reed is even afraid of them. And then he's surprised that they're killing people, but I kind of thought that was maybe like a little bit of a plot hole though, because it's like there's these creatures and they're living in the attic, and the wife's downstairs, and then he's kind of surprised when people start to die, but it's like, okay, but why is she birthing these creatures? Like this isn't normal, and he doesn't seem to care. He only seems to care when they start to kill people. So basically, Oliver Reed is like a mad scientist, and in the end, he gets his comeuppance because they beat him to death. But um, surprisingly, Roger Ebert gave it 1 star. He really didn't like it. He says the movie I mentioned is a bore. That's because basically hardly anything happens until the last 15 minutes or so. I don't agree. Edgar's husband is opposed to the Institute, thinks she's being kept a prisoner there, rants and raves a lot, and finally breaks in. But otherwise, there's just a lot of coming and going and musing as the music on the soundtrack hints darkly at the terrible things to come. The little clones sort of ripped off from Don't Look Now. I haven't seen that. Which had a killer midget in a raincoat. The Brood disguises its killers as first graders. They wear snowsuits and mingle with kids their height and do wonderful things like hammering school teachers to death with toy hammers. Samantha Edwards has a human daughter who's kidnapped by the clones. Maybe because she's their sister, sort of. Oliver Reed remains impassive to demands that he interrupts his research. And yet at the end, he turns out to be as arrogant about what is happening as anyone else. Well, I agree with that. I think that's kind of a problem in the movie. Like, he's shocked that they're killing people, but he's not shocked that like there's a womb on the outside of her and she's birthing these monsters. Like, he doesn't seem to care until they kill people. What's the purpose of this film? Ebert says, other than to serve as a tax shelter, of course. Yeah, I don't know what he means by that. I don't know. It's never really scary. It's disgusting in ways that are not entertaining, as opposed, for example, to the great disgusting moments in Alien or Dawn of the Dead. It's never really a mystery thriller because we guess what's going to happen before the characters do. It has enough dialogue to sound as if it takes itself seriously, but listen to the dialogue and it's nonsense. Mm. The pacing is so uncertain that we don't always know how we're supposed to feel, and the last gruesome moments seem like a geek show than a movie. Are there really people who want to see a reprehensible trash like this? I guess so. It's in its second week. Wow. Man, he hated it. I know Siskel and Ebert had this thing about it's really cheap terror to put a child in in trouble, like in terror. So I understand that, but I think that this movie uh kind of does it in the best it does it as best as you can, but they really were get angry at movies that do that. And overall, I don't know. It seems like they're just not massive fans of horror movies because I know they hated Friday the 13th. They hate all of them. They liked the first Halloween. All the other ones they didn't like. I'm pretty sure. Maybe three they liked. But, anyways, it just seems like Ebert and Siskel and Ebert aren't that big fans of horror. But for me, this is really good. I mean, it is true. Maybe not as much happens as you'd like until the third act, but I think it pays off really well. And I mean, Art Hindle doesn't do anything because he threatens Oliver Reed and he says, I'm going to go and get my wife and I'm going to go and see her. And then Oliver Reed threatens to sue him. And then he goes to a lawyer and he's like, like they could take your daughter away. He could do a lot of damage to you. He could sue you. So there just isn't much that he can do until the very end when his daughter is kidnapped by those creatures. And then he finally is like, okay, whatever. I'm going there and I'm getting my wife and I'm getting my daughter. But in the end, he can't get his wife because she's basically become a monster herself. And she even says, she'd rather kill her daughter than let him take her away from her. So she's pretty much gone. I'm just kind of surprised. Like 1 star, really? Wow. The clones are gestated in wombs outside the body. They have no navels, which is always an alarming sign of enterprise of this nature. I actually thought that was an interesting little part because it's like, how are they being birthed? And then they actually show it in the end. The Good Doctors Institute, which somehow kept reminding me of Mel Brooks' Institute for the Very, Very Nervous, is run as a sort of cult with all the patients competing for roles in the communal psychodramas. Meanwhile, the clones are hidden away while the doctors try to decide if he's going to get a Nobel Prize or only a subpoena. The doctor is played by Oliver Reed, who is very good at projecting a sense of evil menace. His prize patient is played by Samantha Eggar, who must have read the script first, I suppose, and yet accepted it anyways, even though the film's last moments have her snarling, licking up blood, and otherwise seriously undermining her glamorous image. Do performers sometimes feel it's noble to take hideously unpleasant roles? Yeah, I think they do actually. Yeah. I think some actors do. I mean, they like to stretch their legs. They like to try out new roles. The movie I mentioned, okay, then I've already read this, is a bore, which I don't. I mean, it's not a perfect movie. Like I said, there's problems in the end with Oliver Reed, and he really seems kind of out of touch about what's going on, and he doesn't seem to care about the other people that have all these other terrible problems. Like this one guy, he has this cancer growing out outside of his throat, and I think he's mentioned he's had some heart attacks and he blames him. He's suing him. He doesn't seem to care about them at all. He's pretty much obsessed with this one patient. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. I think this is right when Cronenberg begins to hit his stride because of Scanners is next. And I'm a big fan of Scanners. I'm pretty much a big fan of all of his movies from the 80s that I can think of. So, but if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. Really helps the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of The Brood, if you're a fan of it or not. If you agree with some of the criticisms that Ebert has, because I don't really. Like I said, not perfect, but I think if you're into Cronenberg, I think you'll enjoy it. So, but yeah, that's about it, and I'll see you next time.